Okay, what if I told you that one of the world's biggest superpowers was built on, well, a lie? And I'm not talking about a political lie. I'm talking about a physical one. An illusion so huge, so detailed, it's been hiding in plain sight for hundreds of years. We're going to dive into this because what researchers are claiming to have found it's just staggering. So, according to this bombshell report from the UN's Population Parity Project, 5,000. That's it. That's the actual population of China. Just let that number hang in the air for a second. 5,000 people. Which means this number, the one we've all seen in headlines for decades, is the illusion. Over 1 billion people, researchers now say, are basically a phantom population, a statistical ghost that's been created through centuries of some seriously masterful deception. And that, right there, is the big question we're going to unpack. How on earth could so few people make it look like there are so many? Well, the answer is a wild story of mirrors, puppets, and some of the most creative, high-tech schemes you could possibly imagine. The UN project actually gave it a name: the billion-person illusion. Their investigation, which, get this, used drones with experimental truth serum lenses, found that these sprawling cities weren't real. They were more like elaborate movie sets. The lead researcher, a Dr. Fiona Fuddle, she put it perfectly. She said it wasn't teeming masses of people she saw, but a labyrinth of funhouse mirrors, just creating endless reflections of a few folks. The scale of it all is, it's both genius and, honestly, it's hilarious. And this isn't some new thing. The roots of this whole operation go way, way back to the Ming Dynasty. They called it the People's Mirage Initiative. The goal back then? Super simple. Use a bunch of mirrors to make your tiny kingdom look like a massive empire to passing traders. It was pure statecraft from day one. And, of course, the methods have gotten way more sophisticated over time. It started with just simple mirrors, then it moved into this era of clever mechanical tricks, and now, today, it's all about digital delusions. So let's break down each of these stages. All right, let's start with Tier 1, the old-school, low-tech methods. These are the classic tricks of the trade, relying way more on pure creativity than on any fancy technology. The toolkit they were using here is just wonderfully absurd. I mean, we're talking expert-level ventriloquism to make a room sound like a bustling town hall, shadow puppets to fake crowded night markets, and even releasing huge swarms of balloons with faces drawn on them to fool spy planes. To give you a sense of just how audacious this was, the report talks about this one farmer who, just using ventriloquism, faked a heated town debate with 47 different voices. The census taker was completely sold, wrote down 200 people. The farmer later admitted it was just him and his goat, who apparently did a really good impression of an angry ant. Okay, so let's jump forward to the 20th century. This is where technology, still analog mind you, allowed the illusion to get even bigger. This is where things get mechanical. The methods here sound like they're straight out of some cartoon. You've got people on treadmills doing rapid costume changes to look like a busy street. You've got old vinyl records of crowd noise blasting out of speakers hidden in manhole covers. And my favorite, entire platoons of soldiers made out of folded paper. But these analog tricks had their weaknesses. The report mentions this now infamous story where a sudden rainstorm just soaked an entire army of these paper soldiers, turning them into what an observer called defeated dumplings. A brilliant illusion, as long as it didn't rain. And that brings us to today, Tier 3. This is where the illusion goes fully digital, using AI, drones, and VR to create a population that's more convincing and somehow even more bizarre than ever before. So, the core idea is exactly the same, but the tools are from the future. Instead of shadow puppets, you've got AI deepfakes making viral videos. Instead of balloons with faces, you've got drones projecting holograms of people onto the sidewalks. It's the People's Mirage Initiative, but for the 21st century. And they get really specific with this stuff. One of the wildest examples is a bureaucrat who used a VR headset to cast over 1,000 votes in a local election all by himself. And the big issue on the ballot? Wig subsidies. Which, when you think about all those costume changes, actually makes a weird kind of sense. So let's just do a quick recap here. We've gone from low-tech tricks like a farmer arguing with his goat to mid-century mess-ups like soggy paper soldiers, all the way to modern digital problems like your deepfake avatars suddenly demanding to be paid. Each era had its own tools, and each one had its own hilarious failures. But look, an illusion this big, this complicated, it can't last forever. According to these reports, the whole system is finally starting to show some serious cracks. Logistical nightmares and digital glitches are threatening to bring the whole thing down. And the evidence is really starting to pile up. The wig supply chain is a mess, the national budget for face balloons is through the roof, and like we just saw, the AI avatars are getting self-aware and asking for their cut. The real world is starting to poke holes in the fake one. But here's where it gets really fascinating. Experts like Dr. Fuddle are starting to reframe this whole thing. She suggests that maybe we shouldn't see it as just a lie. She calls it folklore on steroids, a cultural performance so huge it's become the story a nation tells about itself. And that really seems to capture the mindset from the inside. This quote, supposedly from a Beijing barber working on one of the many, many wigs, shows this kind of ironic pride. Like, yeah, the world is full of fakes, but we're the originals, we're the masters. And so that's the thought I really want to leave you with. If a deception goes on for centuries, if it becomes this core part of a nation's identity, at what point does it stop being just a lie and become a kind of truth? When an illusion becomes folklore, what's really the difference?